Hello, stargazers. This is Joe Grida, Technical Information Officer for the Astronomical Society of South Australia, here to bring you the sky this month for April 2021. Let's draw some curtains and reveal the sky for us. Here we have our full sky map. South at the bottom, north at the top, west on the right, east on the left. And already we can see that the constellation of Orion and Gemini are all starting to disappear in the west soon after sunset, and our winter constellations of Scorpius and Libra and Boots in the far north are all starting to appear. Let's zoom in on our star map and just tackle one section at a time. So here we go. Orion, as I said, it's starting to disappear over in the west, and I always know that winter is coming when I switch over and look towards the east and find that Scorpius is showing its stars to us over in the eastern sky. I know that that winter is coming, and it's not too far away. Monoceros, the unicorn, that's going to leave us soon, along with Orion. Of course, Orion's two bright stars, Rigel and Betelgeuse, are still with us. Beautiful color contrast between the two. The lovely blue-white color of Rigel and the reddish-orange of Betelgeuse. And of course, just here above the belt of Orion, or sorry, I should say below the belt of Orion, we have the big emission nebula M42, or the Great Nebula in Orion. We talked about that one several months ago. Huge area of star forming region. The estimate is that there's enough gas gas and dust within M42 to make around about 10,000 suns eventually. As we head towards the south, Eridanus, the river, which has been with us since early spring, is now starting to disappear over in the west. Achernar, its brightest star. This is one of the stars that doesn't actually set from Adelaide. If you followed its movement around the sky during a full 24-hour period, don't forget that all stars rotate around the south celestial pole here, and if you followed it around, you would find that it would come almost touching the southern horizon here for our latitude of Adelaide, and then start rising again. So it's called a circumpolar star. It never ever sets. I always use Achernar and the star Acrax, the brightest star in the constellation of the Southern Cross, as my way of roughly pointing south. I usually say about halfway between the Southern Cross and Achernar is where you'll find south. As we head further to the south, here, still relatively high up in the sky, we have the large and small Magellanic Clouds. These are the two external galaxies or the largest of the external galaxies to their own satellite galaxies. The large cloud is around about 180,000 light years away, and the small cloud is about 220,000 light years away. Now, this object here, perhaps I should switch to a pointer. Pointer options, laser, here we go, that's better. And now let's zoom in again where we were, and my laser is gone. Never mind. Here's the Large Magellanic Cloud, the Small Cloud, as I said earlier, and this object here labelled as 104. It's NGC 104. It is a globular cluster, the second biggest and brightest globular cluster in the sky, after Omega Centauri, which we find up here near the Southern Cross. NGC 104 is a globular cluster. It's a big ball of stars, roughly 1 million stars, and it's around 30,000 light years away. So I don't think that the small cloud and the globular cluster here are at the same distance. They're not. As I said earlier, the small Magellanic Cloud is over 220,000 light years away, compared to just 30,000 for 47 Tuc, as we affectionately know this object. Very low in the sky, very faint constellation of Tucana, the toucan. Very difficult to see from the suburbs. Any metropolitan area, you really do need a dark sky to be able to see that, as you need to with Pavo, the peacock. It also has another globular cluster, NGC 6752, which are both of these objects are very easy to see through a small telescope, even from the suburbs. If you can either star hop your way there, or use a go-to telescope to drive the telescope straight to that point. And we have another one here, NGC 6397 in Ara, the Alta. This again is a fairly bright globular cluster. Again, relatively easy to see from the suburbs, all three of these. And of course, with Omega Centauri up here being the biggest and the brightest of them all, only 16,000 light years away, and absolutely glorious object for you to view through a telescope. On a dark night, you can just make out Omega Centauri here with the naked eye as a little fuzzy star. As we head further towards the east, you can see that the Milky Way is getting bigger. The actual stars that make up the Scorpius arm of the Milky Way, and as Sagittarius comes up in another month or so, we'll then be looking directly towards the center of the Milky Way galaxy. We'll talk about that a bit more next month. A little bit higher up in the sky, just off the head of Scorpius, we have Libra of the Scales, Zubanil Ganubi. It's brightest star there. I just love saying good, Zubanil Ganubi. And then here's another globular cluster, M5. This is another gorgeous cluster. And then here we have Virgo, and in between Virgo and Leo the Lion, just in between the nebula and the Andrometrix over here, you've got the Virgo cluster of galaxies, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. Globular clusters abound this evening. M53 over here. This one is not quite so easy to see from the suburbs. You will need to have a reasonably dark sky. It's a lot smaller than some of the others that we've already been talking about. And as we move to the north, I've already pointed out Leo the Lion. We got Hydra, the water snake, almost all the way across the sky from the east going towards the west. This is one of the longest constellations in the sky. Again, the stars are quite faint, so you're gonna need to be in a dark sky to be able to see that properly. And low in the northwest, where we started from, we got Gemini with its two bright stars, Castor and Pollux. Always very easy to pick out, even from the suburbs. All right, let's move on to our moon phases for April. We have last quarter coming up on the 4th of April, Easter Sunday. new moon on the 12th, first quarter on the 20th of April, and then full moon around the 27th of April. So for dark sky viewing in the evening, your best time to do that is between the 5th and the 19th of April over here, when the moon is starting to get large again after having passed through new moon. So this is your time during the middle of the month when you're going to be able to do your best dark sky viewing during the evening. And during the early part of the month and the later part of the month, when we do have a bright moon in the evening sky, I suggest you have a look at the moon. And double stars are also nice objects to chase during those bright moonlit nights. And I've got a real gem of a double star for you this evening for you to have a look at. All right, our lunar feature of the month this month is the Gascendy Crater. You can see it where it's located over here on the western hemisphere of the moon. So as the moon starts off as a thin crescent just after new over here in the east, so by the time we get to here, it's only a few days before full moon. It's quite a large crater, as you can see. You can see here, because it's getting, we're looking around the moon. Don't forget, the moon's a ball, so we're looking around it. The crater is foreshortened a bit, so it looks an oval shape to us, or an ellipse. But you'll see in a minute that it's not really an ellipse at all. As I said earlier, it's best viewed getting close towards full moon. So best viewed around about the 24th, 25th of April coming up. So that's around about an 11 to a 12-day old moon. And this crater is, because it's big, it's a great object to spend quite a bit of time looking at the crater, the shadows when the sun is rising from here along the crater. Depending on what time you actually manage to have a look at it, those shadows can stretch almost all the way out to these peaks, and you can see these cracks in the surface as well from when the crater floor was uplifted billions of years ago. There we go. I promised you an overhead look at the Gascendy Crater. This is from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. It just shows you it is a round crater. Some smaller craters have formed since the floor was cracked when it was uplifted. And of course, Gascendy A over here, obviously formed after the crater floor had been lifted up. It's 110 kilometers in diameter. As I said, it's quite large, so easy to see in a small telescope. And as I say here, it lies on the northern shore of Mare Humorum, which is a sea of moisture. We've already talked about the being uplifted by volcanic crust. The volcanic modification stirred the floor, erased the battering it took when Gascendy A joined the family. So there we go. So do have a look at it around about the 24th, 25th of April. There is a nice little crack or rima over here as well. Rima hedigonius at the southern part of the Ocean of Storms, Oceanus Procellarum. You can just see it here. Again, that is something that you, under good viewing conditions, you should be able to see. Don't be scared of adding magnification when you're looking at the moon. With a crater like this, you want to get a reasonably good image size, as much as the viewing conditions and your telescope will stand. And then you'll be able to see some of these cracks on the crater floor and the big reamer over here as well. Gascendy age, for comparison, is 33 kilometers in diameter. And being April, we mustn't let the 49th anniversary of Apollo 16 landing on the moon on the 21st of April. There's a picture of one of the astronauts with the lunar rover, and the chart on the right gives you all the landing spots from all of the lunar Apollo landings. And just quite a nice little fact that Charles Duke, the lunar lander pilot, left a photo of his family on the moon. And they were on the moon for almost 3 days, which is quite different to the 21 hours that the Apollo 11 astronauts spent on the moon. Right, the planets in the inner solar system first. For April, you can see that Mercury and Venus are right on the other side of the Sun from us, so still not all that easily visible to us this month. Venus does make an appearance very low in the western sky just towards the end of April. If you do happen to be at the beach in very late April, soon after sunset, have a look very low in the sky, and you might just be able to glimpse Venus, but don't try too hard. We'll have a much better look at Venus during May and subsequent months. Mars is still visible in the evening sky in Taurus, but if you do want to have a look, don't leave it too late. As I showed you earlier, Orion, Taurus, all set quite early after the Sun, so you'll be able to find Mars in Taurus during April. And in the outer solar system, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars have now come out from behind the Sun, and you can get a good view of them in the morning sky, an hour or two before sunrise. Neptune and Uranus are really too close to the Sun in the evening and the morning for us to get a good look at them at all. And as I was saying earlier, have a look at Jupiter. This is the view at 6 o'clock in the morning on the 3rd of April. So not long before sunrise. Sunrise is around about 7:30. So sky is still dark. So have a look at Jupiter, because it actually gains another moon. You can find Jupiter in the constellation of Capricorn, the Goat, and if you look out on the 3rd of April, you find that it's actually gained another moon. These are the 4 Galilean moons of Jupiter, and the star 44 Capricorni just happens to lie in the same line of sight as the other 4, so makes it look as if Jupiter has got 5 moons. The separation between Ganymede here and 44 Capricorni is only about 4 minutes of arc, so quite close. You should be able to see all of those in a pair of binoculars, as long as you hold them steady, or just in a low power view in your telescope. I mentioned earlier that Mars is in Taurus at the moment, and this view on the 17th of April at 7 o'clock shows Taurus with the crescent moon and Mars within the horns of Taurus. These are the 2 horns of Taurus the bull Let's just prove that to you. Here you go. Here's the tips of the horns. If you draw out a proper constellation figure. So there's the horns, and you've got the crescent moon and Mars sitting around in the horns of Taurus, the ball. When you're looking at them, just remember that the moon is only 401,000 kilometers away, whereas Mars is 285 million kilometers away. So there's a huge difference in the distance between the two bodies. And a bit of a closer look here. You can see that the moon is about a 3-day-old moon, I would say there, and Mars. So you'll be able to see both of those in the field of view of your binoculars quite easily. And talking of the moon, on April the 26th, I don't like using the term supermoon, but the moon will appear quite large when you go and have a look at it, because as it rises, it's only 356,513 kilometers away from us, so it'll look quite large. And here's the difference between a moon when it's at its closest to us and a moon when it's at its furthest from us at apogee. At perigee, when it's at its closest to us, the difference between them in size is about 14%, and because of that larger size, it looks a lot brighter as well. And as it says down here, the last time that the moon was this close, or actually closer, it was in January 1948, when it was 5 kilometers closer to us. And then in 2034, it'll actually be 356,445 kilometers. So about 80 kilometers closer to us again. So go out and have a look at it, enjoy it for the view. Okay, I promised you a gem of a double star for April, and this is my recommendation. 24 Chima Berenices. You can find it about halfway up the northern sky, just below Virgo and Leo. To me, because it's a deep yellow, orange, and a beautiful, gorgeous deep blue, it's very reminiscent of H3945 in Canis Major in the summer, and then you got Alberio in Cygnus for the winter. Both of them, all three of those stars have got a gold orange primary and a deep blue secondary. Really gorgeous to have a look at it. As I say there, the primary is a red giant, 20 times the diameter of our sun, and it's 173 times the sun's luminosity. The secondary is also a spectroscopic binary, so they are so close that we can't separate them. And those two stars revolve around each other every 7.33 days, whereas the period between the primary and the secondary stars, between the red and the blue star, is over 28,000 years. So they are in a very, very long orbit. Magnitude 5.2 and 6.7 for the stars. So you're going to need at least binoculars to help you locate the star from the city before you actually train your telescope on it. A separation of 20 arc seconds, that's quite wide, so any size telescope will show you the two stars nicely separated. And when you do have a look at them, don't employ too much power. You want to be able to split the two stars so you can see them as two separate stars with a little bit of darkness between them, but don't try and separate them too far. Otherwise, you will lose the special effect of the color contrast. But certainly have a look at it. It is a gorgeous star. So where do you find it? Well, here's Virgo, rising in the east. Here's Leo over here, the nebula, and the Vindemiatrix. I always have trouble pronouncing the name of that star. And here's 24 Coma, just sitting here. Here's the Coma Berenices constellation, quite a faint one. M53 is this globular cluster here. We spoke about that when we're looking at the all-sky chart. And in this area here is the Virgo cluster of galaxies that we'll talk about shortly. So have a look at 24 Coma. You don't have to wait for a moonless night. If it's clear out there tonight, after this is finished, don't go before I'm finished, go out there and have a look. You'll be very pleasantly surprised at how gorgeous those two stars look. Okay, we spoke about Virgo and the Virgo cluster of galaxies. Now, the Virgo cluster of galaxies contains over 2,000 galaxies that the software program Orion telescope listed that I should be able to find with my 16-inch telescope. 2,000 galaxies. Imagine how many years that's going to take me to go through all of those. So I've chosen a particular group of galaxies within the Virgo cluster to talk to you about tonight. The Virgo cluster is 53 million light years away, and it's the one of the closest of the galaxy groups to us, other than, of course, our own local group, of which the Milky Way, the Magellanic Clouds, the Andromeda Galaxy, M33 and Triangulum are the biggest of those galaxies within our local group. So there is a line of galaxies, as you can see them here, stretching around like that, like a hook, called the Mercarian chain of galaxies. And the best place to start is with the two big elliptical bright galaxies, M86 and M84. So find those in your telescope, and then you'll be able to move your way around this group. You won't be able to fit all of this in one field. This is quite long. This area just here is around about one full moon width. So that's half a degree, another half a degree. That's 1.5, 2. We're really talking about 2.5 degrees or so. So you'll need to sweep around this field. If you start here and then just work your way around, you'll have no difficulty finding it. But I will say right now that M84 and M86 will be easy for you to find from a relatively dark a position in your suburban garden. However, the rest of the galaxies, you really need to be out in a dark sky to find the others. Of great interest are these two here, NGC 4435 and 4438. They're known as the eyes, as you'll see in a minute when I enlarge that view for you. They're interacting galaxies, these two. And there's a close-up image from a large observatory telescope. I think this was taken by one of the European Southern Observatory telescopes. You can see all these streamers here that are undoubtedly stars that have been pulled off this galaxy by its interaction with this other one. So Mercarian's chain is one of the highlights in your autumn galaxy hunt. So make sure you go out and have a look at it. So where is it? Right there, right smack between these two stars. The nebula in Leo and Vindemiatrix in Virgo. Right in the middle of the Virgo cluster of galaxies. And if you'll remember, 24 Coma is right here. So on the night when you have a look for 24 Coma, if there's a moon in the sky, you might see M84 and M86 over here. I would really suggest that you leave that until you've got a nice dark sky. Slightly enlarged view. Here you've got M84 and M86 and some of the other galaxies that make up Mercarian's chain just in there. And you can see from all these little red ellipses how many other galaxies there are in the same general area. So you can keep yourself busy for days and days, or I should say evenings and evenings on end, looking for all of these galaxies. And there's a bigger close-up. There you have M84 and M86, and then you got the eyes down here, and the other galaxies that make up the chain along there. And as I said earlier, that's all that you'll be able to see in a 30 arc-minute field of view, which is one full moon. So by the time you've gone all the way around there, it'll be around about 2.5, 3 degrees sweep of your telescope. So good hunting. It really is a great time of the year. It's galaxy season. How can you not get out there and look at all these gorgeous galaxies in the sky? Remember, when you're looking at these, you're looking at their light as it was when it left those galaxies, approximately 53 million years ago. And as always, I'd like to remind you that all the sky views that you see during this broadcast are all created with Stellarium software. I highly encourage you to make sure that you download it and install it on whatever type of computer you have. It works in Linux, it works on Mac OS, on Windows. You can even get a web-based version of it as well, if that suits you better. But I cannot recommend it highly enough for you. And as always, if you've got any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me at technical@assa.org.au. Love to receive your email and your questions. I will endeavour to answer them as quickly as possible for you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can watch this program as well as many others that the Society broadcasts, like our general meetings, our ASSA at Home shows. And also find us on Facebook for the latest announcements, as well as our website at assa.org.au. Thank you for watching. Please do go out there and get your eyes flooded with starlight. Good viewing, good galaxy hunting, and I'll see you next month. Thank you.